Ooh. Yeah.
Alright, so I haven't got a whole lot done this past weekend. I've worked on this Blazer. Not really working on it, but I had the tires changed out. A friend of mine dropped off a set of tires. They were 225 40 18, so they kind of fitted a little better for the actual Blazer itself. The problem I'm dealing with right now, I'm debating on taking those wheels off and moving them over to the S10 and finding a different set to fit this. I'm really tight on the, I don't know if you can see it in this, but really tight trying to tuck up into that back of that Blazer. So that's the dilemma I'm facing on it. The reason I'm debating on changing it out. I think that size wheel and tire would do okay on the S10. Kind of hate to take them off here though. I really like the wires. I like that spoke wheel look on them, especially on that square body. Anyway, that's what we've got with the Blazer. All right, so this is the progress I've made over the weekend with it. The grill's just sitting there. I have 2 screws holding it in place. The headlight is not installed on this side. Both the headlight buckets are in, and that's pretty much what I did on the front. The radiator's just sitting in place. There's some work. Not gonna be able to see it, I don't think, but I got a little bit of clearance issues over there with this radiator, so I'm gonna have to work on. And then I can start mocking up all these, the wiring harness for the computer and the fuse box. But not critical things, but it's stuff I've worked on over the weekend here. Got the compressors mounted up. I ended up using these are the bushings that are vibration bushings for the oil tank and the battery box on a Sportster, and that's what I used. That way, give it some movement like the factory ones, but hopefully it'll be more durable. I've got the compressors are mounted and plumbed. I did run into an issue, really dumb one on my part, but these end up actually being 24-volt relays, so ended up wasting $40 on the wrong relays. I got the right ones on the way in. I should have them this week, so then I can put the 12-volt relays on here. My compressor will end up grounding off the foot. That's also going to be where the ground comes off for the coil on these relays. And then what I think I'm going to do is I'll have the hot connect here, or the compressor connect on the lower side on both, and then I'll have the hot jump across for both sides. That way I can, seems like that was what I had done originally when I had this set up before. The driver's side, I put a T here, so this will be for an engine-driven compressor later on. I've got the hoses and stuff already sitting up by the front of the vehicle up here, so that'll be another project a little later. I had another mistake that I had made. Ordered my pressure switch, and ordered 200 psi pressure switches. Those are 150 psi compressors, so that's not going to work for me. So I'm either going to order probably 145 psi compressor or pressure switch like that one, or I'm going to run the Square D. I've ran these before, never had one of these fail on me on a vehicle, so I think this is what I want to do. I just got to find a way to mount it up to where it's not so bad. My air tank, I don't know if you can see it, But the original setup, I had 4 lines that came off here, and they went to valves that were mounted where that shock mount is. It's where my valve banks were mounted on both sides. So I'm not going to be using that setup anymore. So I plugged off all these, and there's one down there that used to be a train horn. Those are all plugged off. There's another one, if you can see it down there. On both sides, there's one. Let's see here. Right here. This is where the pressure switch originally was mounted up at. And the one on that side was for a gauge. So what I'm doing, the gauge is no longer going to be fed from back here. I'm going to have a single hose or a single airline coming off from here. It's going to hit the frame, and it's going to come down and go inside the cab. So it's going to hit this, and I think I'm going to keep this inside the vehicle. I'm going to have to run a bunch of lines out for each bag, but I think it'd be a lot nicer to not have this mounted up outside. I'll probably put it beside of wherever my speaker box will go inside of this when it's all put together. That's pretty much what I've got done over the weekend. Just kind of bouncing ideas. You know, if anybody does watch this and they've got any suggestions. My thought was on this block, you know, the 1 through 4, that's individual bags, and on the back side, that'll be my gauge ports. They feed straight through. That's what that's set up for. But I'm thinking I'm going to do a single 3/8 airline to feed this, and then on the opposite side, that'll be where I run my gauge fitting. So all my gauges will be fed out of the inside of the vehicle to wherever my cluster will be. That way I don't have to worry about a bunch of little tiny 1/8" airlines getting caught on anything out here. I'll have all the 3/8 lines coming out. That's my thought. I don't know if that's going to be how I end up doing it, but used to, there was an AccuAir that sat on top of this gawky looking mount here. You can see the 4 holes. That's where I had the AccuAir mounted up originally. So if I just got to figure out how I'm going to do that part. At least that way I'm going to have most of my air management stuff fixed. And I'm in the process of trying to get a single 12 like I used to run in this back in the early 2000s. So that'll give me my plan for the stereo. I'm doing all the real critical stuff, you know, not too worried about getting it running, which would be the priority for anybody that's got any sense. One other piece, these water traps that I ended up getting, those are from Harbor Freight. I think I paid $6 a piece for those. So, before I was running SMCs, you know, $30 a piece. So I kind of like the idea of having cheaper if I can afford it, or if I can find it. At that, and I can replace those locally where I would have to order the other parts. All right, so I've dragged this on long enough. That's my progress. Compressors are mounted. New relays should be here within a couple days. I'll have those up, and as soon as I figure out where that valve block mounts up at on this vehicle, that's I should have it to where the air system is together and usable for itself. Try and get something else out in the next few days, but that's my progress so far. It's kind of nice actually having some work being completed on it. Got a pile of junk on top of it. I did spend some time trying to go through some boxes of junk I had piled up, so I've got a mess over here. But here's the view of it.